picked out your particles, you'll be taking pictures and measurements for all of the picked particles. So after you've counted, you can use ImageJ if you want, which is what we use. It's free to download, it's fairly easy to use. When we record measurements, recording measurements in 2 dimensions. So when you're picking your particles and you're putting them out on tape, I try to lie them as flat as possible. So this isn't always easy, but do your best to lay them as flat as possible so that you can measure it accurately in 2 dimensions. We record the longest dimension as the length and the widest dimension that's perpendicular to that as the width. So it would be one length, one width. We don't measure the frayed projections of the fiber, so if there's fraying at the ends of the fiber, don't measure each fray, just measure the main body of the fiber. If a fragment is curved, so we have what we call sometimes commercial fragments, they look like shavings that can come off when you make plastic products. I would use a curved line to measure this because I can't lie it flat. So you may need to use a curved line tool sometimes, and you may also need to use a segmented line tool for measuring fibers. So if a fiber kind of occurs in a zigzag pattern, I would follow the main body of the fiber with the segmented line tool, and then just pick the widest dimension that's perpendicular to one of those for the width. Some tricky situations are when particles break. So if a particle has broken, use your best judgment here. So I would only consider a particle a broken particle if I'm sure that I broke it. So if it looks like, oh, maybe this used to be one large particle in my sample because I'm seeing 3 fragments that look the same, I'm not sure if that's actually the case, so I won't assume that those are broken particles. I would measure them individually. But if, as I'm picking a particle out, I break it on the tape and there's like 3 fragments inside my little permanent marker circle, I would measure those 3 fragments. This is where your judgment comes into play. If it's like a rectangular particle, I would assume that it's most likely fragmented along its length. So what I would do is measure the length of those 3 fragments, add them together to get one total length, and just measure one width that's the widest perpendicular to one of those lengths. If it's a sphere or something that broke, then you'd have to measure each and add them together for the length and width. So this is where your judgment comes into play. Okay, so